Hello, I'm Edward Lehner. I'm a researcher with Captura Fund. This is a video series entitled The Short and Evolving History of Cryptocurrency Funds. And in particular, we want to understand capital formation. Today's video centers exclusively on the founding of Ethereum. This is our third content video, the fourth in the series, on cryptocurrency funds and capital formation. Yet, we want to take a slightly different approach. If you remember in our last two videos, first we focused on early actors in the space who developed financial instruments. Secondly, in our last video, we centered on the institutionalization of the space. Today, we move on from these themes to focus simply on Ethereum. Ethereum, the first Turing-complete blockchain, centers on running smart contracts. And this significantly changes the application layer of cryptocurrency. However, since this is a video on crypto funds and capital formation, I want to take a different approach. That is, rather than simply talking about smart contracts, there are many resources on this topic, I want to underscore how the use of Ethereum, and in particular the use of smart contracts such as ICOs, or the way to garner resources through using the smart contract technology, this leads to our first full-fledged cryptocurrency bull run in 2017. Now, there were bull runs in cryptocurrency before 2017, but they were Bitcoin bull runs. This is the first full-fledged ecosphere or full market cap bull run. I'm not alone in this perspective. Camillo Russo, a Bloomberg reporter, whose book entitled The Infinite Machine also chronicles this. Additionally, Laura Shin, a former Forbes reporter and the first full-time journalist in the cryptocurrency space, chronicles this in her recent book, The Cryptopians. So you see this from a number of angles. So since we're focusing on cryptocurrency funds and their capital formation, let me lay out my thesis. First, I think Ethereum is interesting as a case study for a number of reasons, but I have two that I'd like to cover in this video. First, the idea of a cryptocurrency fund and the way that Ethereum was developed is antithetical. That is, cryptocurrency in particular, Ethereum funds all of its development through a crowdsourced affair, with everything from a crowd sale, as well as a full-fledged ecosphere of developers who supports Ethereum even during a hard fork that we see in 2016. So our first theme is how cryptocurrency in particular and the development of a VC fund is antithetical to Ethereum's founding. Secondly, Ethereum's history is important to capital formation because the idea is so central to our ecosphere today around smart contracts. Smart contracts in 2022 are still all the rage. And Ethereum, in spite of all of its difficulties, is still the standard when we start to think about smart contracts. And certainly there are competitors such as Solana, Luna, and Avalanche are competitors, but they were funded very differently through private coin sales rather than a public crowd sale. And we'll explore this theme a little bit more deeply. So first, number one, let's talk about Ethereum's founding. In covering this thesis in earnest, I really want to talk about Ethereum's founding, but there are many things I'll leave out. So before I cover my thesis fully, I want to highlight that I do miss a lot of Ethereum's colorful history, and it's left out of this video. So for example, major players in the ecosphere will be left out. There's really no mention of Vitalik Buterin, the founder and still really the lead at the Ethereum project. Also founders such as Gavin Wood, the founder of the Polkadot protocol, or Charles Hoskinson, one of the founders or the founder at Cardano, is not mentioned. Additionally, Joseph Lubin is not mentioned. Joe Lubin in particular is very relevant to our theme here since he has both a Wall Street background and a hedge fund background. However, when Lubin saw the potential of this technology, he founded Consensus, which still runs out of its Bushwick, Brooklyn offices. And Consensus is one of the oldest startups in crypto, dating back to 2014. Consensus, and Joe Lubin in particular, has focused almost exclusively on the development of Ethereum. So first, let's cover our first theme, which is the public sale and crowdsourced development. Firstly, Ethereum starts as a crowd-funded affair. Ethereum's crowd sale was postponed a number of times, but in 2014, the crowd sale occurred. This type of sale wasn't unusual in crypto at the time. Yet the crowd of developers, with the possibility of this Turing-complete code, was very different. This idea of having really an army of developers is really something important. And as I highlighted earlier, this is chronicled both in Camilla Russo's book as well as Laura Shin's book, respectively. And this is this idea of building decentralized applications, or dApps, and how this fundamentally changes Ethereum's trajectory. Secondly, to this point of the crowd sale and public development, there was this idea of the ICO, or the initial coin offering. And this really develops the boom of 2017 and leads to it. Ethereum provided a way for early stage cryptocurrency projects to garner capital. And this was done through an ICO, or an initial coin offering. I would be remiss, however, if I didn't mention that many ICOs were not fully planned, and as of today, 2022, many of them failed or were outright scams. Let's talk about our second point, and that is what Ethereum unleashes. Ethereum's competitors and venture coins. Although venture capital arguably was involved with cryptocurrency from the very beginning, Ethereum's success spurs on the growth of the private VC coin sales, and this is usually referred to as a pre-mine. For example, a private token sale of Solana led by Andreessen and Horowitz would be an example of a pre-mine or a private token sale. Private token sales, compared to fairly launched systems, are a topic of conversation even today when we talk about the fairness of the Bitcoin blockchain's launch. And tokenomics is also important. Now, I also want to mention that Ethereum, in its initial iteration, was pre-mined. And there's a big conversation about that whole topic and how Vitalik Buterin was against it if you read Laura Shin's book, The Cryptopians. I don't want to just highlight Solana. Other projects, such as the Terra Luna project and others, have had pre-mines or private token sales. And using this critique of the VC lens applies to many coins that have been launched in the last few years. So let's move towards summary. In this, our third video on capital formation and cryptocurrency funds, we focused exclusively on Ethereum. We've covered how Ethereum started as a fully crowdsourced event. And after having its crowd sale, they really developed an unbelievably committed group of developers. This framework is very unlike today's venture capital private sales that are now at the center of the industry. Secondly, we covered how other venture capital supported projects really were not only moved but inspired by Ethereum's success. And they basically reshaped the way that money and funds are garnered for the industry through private sales. And these types of private sales or pre-mines are reshaping the industry. So let's move towards analysis. It's hard to say whether the full-fledged inclusion of private sales sponsored by VCs in our cryptocurrency ecosphere is good or bad. Maybe this is exactly how capital formation happens. That is, understanding that there are greater risks associated with investing, that maybe pre-mining makes sense, just like early equity makes sense with the startup. However, it's hard not to notice how different Ethereum's project's origins are, as well as its trajectory in some ways compared to its current competitors. I'd like to invite you to join me in the next video, where we move beyond Ethereum and the ICO craze of 2017 and move into our discussion of the crypto winter of 2018 through 2020.